Before we begin tonight, I would like to have a moment of silence or prayer for the victims of the Florida shooting at Stoneman Douglas High School, for their families and friends, and also all of those who had to witness this tragic event. Thank you. Okay, do we have any public service announcements? Craig? Mike?
None.
Okay. I just have a few compliments of Leon, thank you. There will be hold on. Okay, the town of Sturbridge will be holding a business meeting, class on signs in Sturbridge, a detailed explanation of the sign bylaws in town. We always get a lot of question about our sign bylaws. So Jean's gonna hold a brief explanatory class. The class is gonna be held on February 22nd. Okay, so it's this week, and it starts at 8:30, and Jean will be the speaker. If you're interested, you can go on the town website and click on that you will be attending. Also, the Sturbridge Tree Warden has announced that the 2018 Adopt a Tree street planting program that we hold each year. If you would like a tree, they are free. You need to simply go on T. Chamberlain's website, tchamberlain@town.sturbridge.mass.us. The trees are free. There is a requirement that it is a pre-approved tree selection list. So that means the right tree in the right place, and then you have a duty to take care of it. The deadline for the adoption applications is March 14th, 2018. Norcom Mortgage is having a grand reopening celebration at their new location, 135 Main Street, Suite 4. There will be a ribbon cutting hosted by the Chamber of Commerce. You do not need to RSVP, you can just show up. And it will be held on Wednesday, February 28th, so next Wednesday from 5 to 7, and refreshments will be served. And then we will be having, there's the MMA, I guess that's for the Selectmen, legislative breakfast meetings, but we have that in our packet. Okay.
I'll be attending the Palmer one. It's the one that's close by, so I will be attending that one.
Excellent. Okay, on our agenda for this evening, 6:30, we're going to start a few minutes late. Public hearing for Forest Harvest Permit, T. Jepson and Sons, on behalf of Spencer Solar on Fisk Hill Road. The department head reports will be the Planning Department, DPW, and Water Sewer. Our town administrator's update includes a vote to accept the donation from the Rotary Club for the Senior Center Capital Improvement Account. District Capital Projects request survey from Senator Ann Goby. She's asking us for what we need in terms of capital improvements, so we definitely want to do that. There's an application for a special use permit for Berkshire Bass event on Big Alum Pond, amendments to our policy on appointment procedures, the resignation of the library trustee Barbara Helbig, and a permission for the annual BBK 5 road race, JLT Family Foundation for Melanoma Awareness. Old business, new business, correspondence, approval of several minutes, citizens forum, and adjourn. Okay, so we're beginning the public hearing at 6:38. Do you want to read it, Leon?
Madam Chair, in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 132, Sections 40 through 46, the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Sturbridge will hold a public hearing on the petition of T. Jepson and Son, LLC, for a forest harvesting permit for 40 acres of land on Fisk Hill Road, owned by Spencer Solar, LLC. The hearing will be held on Tuesday, February 20th, 2018, at 6:30 p.m. at Sturbridge Town Hall, 308 Main Street, Sturbridge, Massachusetts, published February 1st, 2018.
Okay, do we have a representative here? I think you already shared. Okay, would you come forward and state your name and also fill out our attendance sheet? Could you print your name so it's legible? Thank you.
My name is John Clark.
That one's pretty easy. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, excellent. Why don't you just provide us, and for the audience, a brief overview of the cutting plan that's proposed?
Okay. Well, a cutting plan was prepared and submitted to the state
Yep,
back in August or September. It was approved, a copy went to the Conservation Commission, and then an application for the town bylaw was sent in by me.
okay. Okay, did you return on the cards?
There's,
Read cards?
notification went to the certified abutters list of the hearing tonight, and an announcement for the hearing was put in the Southbridge paper.
Okay, thank you. Do we typically start with the Board of Selectmen questions and then open it up to the audience? This is a
Sure,
public
Madam Chair, I
hearing.
can assist in this. I have in your agenda package, Madam Chair, the application package that was submitted to us on behalf of Spencer Solar. In your agenda pack, I also have in there the copies of the maps that were submitted, as well as the source cutting plan certificate from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, as well as the timber harvest agreement, which I believe gives Mr. Clark and his firm the ability to do this work on behalf of the property owner. In your agenda package, Madam Chair, I also have for you a memorandum from Greg Morse, our DPW director, and comments from the Conservation Director as well, providing you forwarded comments on their behalf, and then I will turn it over to you.
Okay, I just want to start with, did you receive copies of the memorandums from our DPW and Conservation agent?
He has not, yeah.
Okay.
Because we just got.
I think we're going to ask a series of questions based on that, so I want you to have the opportunity to have your own copy.
Okay.
Okay. In the meanwhile, does anybody have any questions, notwithstanding
I do.
the DPW? Well, is it based on the memo from our conservation agent or the DPW director? Let's just wait for him to have a copy.
Something like that.
Okay, so we'll wait a couple minutes. I always feel that you're disadvantaged, when we're referring to something and you don't have it in front of you, so. Thanks, Leon. Okay, so Greg Morse has asked for a $5,000 road maintenance bond, which is past practice. And also, he notes that 48 Old Farm is a residential area, so the truckers need to be aware of our busing routes, which is always a condition that you coordinate with them, and small children are located in this area. I personally happen to know that there's a daycare on Old Farm, so we have to be particularly cognizant of that. And he notes that the pump station driveway was not designated for extremely heavy-duty use, and so if damaged, the DPW has requested and that it be repaired. And then we have a longer memo from our conservation agent. So with that, you can refer to it, but I'm going to open it up to the other members of the board for questions. Craig, do you want to start?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
In regards to the DPW director's notice with the 48 Old Farm Road being a residential area, that we're trying to find out exactly what the whole route is going to be. Because on the conservation agent's report, it was said that the multiple locations for the amount of landings and stream wetland crossings were proposed depending upon what time of the year that this harvesting was going to take place. But then there was something put in here that says, therefore, it's our understanding that all of these landings and crossings will not be constructed, so I'm trying to figure out exactly where those landings and crossings are gonna go.
So when I sent the copy of the forest cutting plan to the Conservation Commission, the comments went from the Conservation Commission back to the state forester and then back to me. So I answered those questions at the time, and there's one staging area on Fisk Hill Road that would be used.
On Fisk Hill, and whereabouts will that be in relation to house numbers?
I honestly don't know. There's an access road.
Because
I don't have
the
the
plan
map.
is cut for 133 Fisk Hill Road.
Yeah.
I don't know, is it in vicinity of that, because I don't think I see it on your map.
There's an old road
Okay,
that goes out to Fisk Hill. It shows on the topo, but that's what we would use.
Yeah, 133 to 139.
trying to see exactly where it was.
What's that?
Yeah, you don't know where the staging's gonna be located?
I know exactly where it is, I
Oh,
just don't
okay.
know the house number.
Oh,
Is
So
it
you're
on this particular
proposing
map?
not,
I don't see it delineated here. I got stone walls and trails and streams, but I don't seem to see exactly where we're.
Do you have a better map, maybe?
This is it here?
The L is the landing,
Okay,
and there's a house here and a house here.
right,
This is the gas lines up here.
yeah,
I don't know the house numbers there.
okay, but you got another landing here?
Yeah, we're not gonna use that.
So that one's out?
Yeah, that one's steep, and then there was some concern about, so I notified the abutters
Yeah.
twice.
Yeah,
okay.
So, first, is the state law, I had to notify the abutters of the work,
correct.
and then I had to notify them of this hearing.
Right,
So, the first notification is when the comments came in,
no landing.
this area here.
oh, no
No.
landing there.
You
So
just,
we won't use that, so we'll take everything out on the side.
Okay, so you're taking this one out, you're taking this one out, and this is the one you're gonna use.
Yeah, we use that one. And then that
you know,
eliminates the,
Okay, so you
That's
won't
the
be
pump
using the
station.
pump station area at all, the pump station road?
we probably,
Okay.
we'll cut around it a little bit, but that'd be it.
Okay.
you know what would be useful, because there's audience members and you talking with us, I'm not sure that it's getting on our, so maybe you could just talk into the mic, and that's, you know, when I ask for an overview, those are the kind of things that I think everybody wants to know.
Okay.
So where's the which landing are you moving forward with? Which landings are you no longer moving forward with?
So the landing on, Old Farm Road, right near the pump station, we won't use that one.
Okay,
And then the one that's farthest, what's it, north on Fisk Hill, will not be used.
okay. So you're only using one?
Yeah, one.
Okay. And that's the one on Fisk Hill that you just circled for us? Okay.
Now, the Conservation
John?
Commission recommended to minimize stream crossings, and if you're doing this, that will mean that all of the timber from the Old Farm Road side of the stream will have to be dragged across the stream crossing 2 or through wetland crossing number 1.
Yeah, it's okay.
Do you have any
Yeah, there's
comment
a-
on that?
No, there's an existing road. I say road, I mean, it's an old farm road that's probably not been in use for quite some time. But that road is there, and it crosses the brook, and we would make it stable, use it, and then take out whatever stabilization. Whether it be bridges or poles, we'll probably build a bridge, and then take it out when we're done.
The,
Well, hold on, do you still,
Okay.
do you want to
Well-
follow up with that?
You've got two different methods of stream crossing, and that, are you preferring one over the other, or how, you're gonna build a bridge? Or-
Usually, we would build a bridge, yep, and that, if there's real flow, we would build a bridge. Yep.
Okay.
Can I just interject, just for a second, so I
Sure.
understand? So, can you just look at our conservation agent's memo, because I'm just gonna, so towards the bottom, like the second to the last paragraph, the SCC recommends that stream crossing 2 is avoided to the greatest extent possible, as this area appears to be steep and erosion coming from the proposed skid trails could be an issue. Are you saying now that the landing that you're using, the one that you are using is going to in fact cross that stream?
I'd have to see the map again.
Okay, sure.
Jesus, listen to this.
Yeah, we would use SC2.
SC2?
Yeah, so as proposed, we would use that.
So we have concern with the skid roads. So what are you going to do to minimize the possibility for the erosion that is of
Yeah,
concern?
So, there are best management practices that we're required to follow by state law. And anywhere where there's a slope, we would have to stabilize that slope before we leave, so that there's not any siltation into the brook. And that the banks of the brook are stable when we're using it as a crossing. And when we're done with the crossing, that we remove whatever crossing we put in place. So if we build a bridge, we've got to remove the bridge and stabilize the trails. If there's open soil, we'd have to put down seed. But it's standard practice, and we would do that.
Would it be feasible not to use stream crossing number 2, and as I said initially, use stream crossing number 1, and, well, you'd have to also have a little wetlands crossing there.
Yeah.
Would that be a feasible alternative? And
It would be feasible. I think that the site conditions would be better to use stream crossing too, because it's a more defined channel. So it's a brook, it's a real brook with banks that can be crossed.
we have to rely on the recommendation of our Conservation Commission as well.
Mhm.
That's the information we're getting, apparently you've discussed this with them, and you're still going ahead with stream crossing too.
Yeah, I would plan to go ahead with stream crossing too.
May I ask something? If you know, our conservation agent attempted to walk the land so that she could better inform us with respect to what would be the best practices in terms of the wetlands involved. And she was denied access by the property owner.
Yes.
Could you, as the representative, could you let us know why that she was not allowed to on it?
Because I think the landowner thought it was his right to deny that access. So that's it. The site was reviewed by the state forester, and so were these crossings. So the crossings were reviewed by the state forester and approved, and then the plan was approved.
Well, I'm just a little bit confused, because are you talking about Kate Marquis, she has recently left?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the person, that's the
Yes,
forester who
yes,
approved?
yep.
Okay, and at that time, you had several landings that you were proposing?
Yes.
Okay, so now our agent says, and this is getting back to what Selectman Moran said, she says, it's our understanding that all of these landings and crossings will not be constructed. So the landings and crossings that were an issue in September, those are not, this Fisk Hill one is not one of those landings? Or it is one of those landings?
We decided on one, because there were butter issues on Old Farm Road. And then Fisk Hill, the one to the north, it's just too steep. It's too steep to come out of the woods up to the road.
Okay, so Leon, he's indicating that they intend to use stream crossing too. Did Rebecca say what is her preference? I'm not,
Well, I don't want to speak for Rebecca. She didn't say that she preferred something other than the others. She did say, in her memo that she recommends that stream crossing 2 be avoided to the greatest extent possible, since it appears to be steep and erosion coming from the proposed skid trails could be an issue. That was that was her recommendation, as, I think it was actually done when Glenn was here, I think was the time that it was actually reviewed.
Okay,
Just so, you're aware, when we're done with this project, we can't have erosion coming from our skid trails. So there can't be erosion entering into a brook. It's
That's
just-
part of the
it's just not-
DCR
yes,
best management
It's just
practices.
not allowed. So however we leave these trails, they have to be stable so that there is not erosion entering stream channels. I mean, that's a state law, so we will not have erosion from the trails entering into a waterway. It won't happen.
okay, and our agent also indicated that there is a new forester now, and it was unclear to her if the current forester had an opportunity to visit the site to review the location of the proposed crossings. So has the current forester,
The way that it works, I mean, so the state forester, whoever it is, in this case, Kate, okay, we refer to as the state forester, but she is an agent for the one head service forester.
I-
So the idea is no matter who ends up covering Sturbridge, the method should be the same. And, however they do it, I'm not a service forester, but it should be the same no matter who does the review.
I think the DCR would admit to that as well.
okay,
I don't know who is covering Sturbridge now. I don't. Is it someone new or they've redistricted because they lost a couple of people?
okay.
Ma-
So you don't have any problem, I'm understanding, when she recommends that disturbances associated with the creation of the skid roads should be minimized to the greatest extent possible, and additional stabilization measures for the erosion controls should be followed, and that you will monitor the site and develop a plan for any areas with potential erosion issues during and after work. Is that what you're saying is best
Absolutely,
practice? Okay. Do we have any additional questions, or should I open it up to the audience
Yes,
at this point?
just one more. if we
I've
can.
got one more, too.
Okay,
It says, in the, from our Conservation Commission, it says that the highway should be aware that the landings and crossings are the options, and that all efforts should be made to avoid and minimize crossings where possible. In the next paragraph, it says, where she couldn't access the property, was denied access by the property owner. Property does contain areas with steep slopes. The abutting commercial property to the west receives substantial flows from the slope. And then where the one who issued this permit has evidently left her employ, it says this Conservation Commission recommends that the harvester closely monitors the site and develops a plan for any areas with potential erosion issues during and after the work. So I'm trying to figure out just exactly what's going on here, because it says it looks like everything that our conservation agent has asked for has been denied by either you or the property owner. Would that be a correct statement?
No.
no, he,
No, I mean, there was a request that we don't use the old farm road landing, and that we wouldn't use it. But it looks like there's a request in here that we come up with a plan to address erosion. We will absolutely do that. And, can we minimize the greatest extent possible the use of a stream crossing? Yes. But I just can't say that we can't use it, because if it doesn't make sense on the ground, then we would use it.
Well, that's it. And we would have loved to have had the chance to look at this site on a one-to-one basis, because all she's working from now is GIS maps and satellites. So if we're gonna keep it a secret, we wanna open it up a little bit and see just exactly what you're doing, because it seems to be kind of a secret of operation. And if the water starts flowing in the wrong directions and coming off that hill and getting into people's properties, the brakes are probably gonna come on pretty quick. Because if the state can't take care of it, we'll get it done. So I'm trying to figure out what contingencies have you got in it to take care of the people that live in that residential neighborhood? In other words, you're gonna
Well,
monitor
the-
this on a constant
The
basis?
water flows downhill away from all the houses, so there's not, and it goes into a channel, And if we're working around a channel, I mean, there are filter strips that we have to use around a channel. So we're not cutting and right over a brook.
You're
And when
saying
we
that
cross
no
it,
residential properties are gonna be disturbed by this job at all?
I would think that there will absolutely be calls about the noise, because there always are. And, you know, there's always some opposition to tree cutting. But as far as water, absolutely not, none,
But I mean,
None.
you've done this job for a long time,
yes,
so you're used to the calls from every job you probably go on.
yes.
So do you think this job is gonna be any more problem than the jobs you normally go on? I'm sure your equipment is up to standard with mufflers and exhaust pipes and all that kind of stuff, that you're not just running around there with wide open mufflers.
We have,
So do you think that this job is gonna be any more of a problem from the residents than the jobs that you've done in the past?
it's hard to know, but no. I mean, we won't have any more impact than we would in any other place. Given the fact that the water flows downhill, that's not an issue. You know, how sensitive people are to the fact that there's work. I mean, you know, people move into a subdivision and they walk in the woods, and they have a feeling for the woods. And if something changes, then sometimes people get upset, and I can't predict that, but
No, I can understand the feelings for the woods, but I mean, you know, if we go up there with a meter and you're 118 or 130 decibels at 7 o'clock in the morning, that's certainly a little too much noise. Okay, and do you have any idea what the schedule is gonna be on this? When you intend to commence and,
no, I don't, because until this is approved, I can't schedule the work, and, you know, and then it'd be something that'd be great to do in the winter. Well, winter's gone, so
let's take a hypothetical, let's say it's approved tonight.
if it's approved tonight, I would say we would wait till it dries out and then revisit the issue, so,
So you're talking the spring?
yeah, maybe May or June, depending on how dry it is from here forward. And the pine, it's mostly pine. The pine market shuts down for a few weeks in the summer, so maybe September.
Okay.
And 40 acres, you know, probably 2-3 weeks of work.
Mike?
Yeah, I've got a question. Most of the time when we get an application like this, the land is already in Chapter 61 or 61A. I notice in your purchase timber harvesting agreement that you are to prepare a forest management plan. Has that plan been prepared, and is it available?
Prepared
And
and approved.
and
And if you
has-
don't have it, that's, the
Huh?
landowner didn't send it to you, but it went to the
Has
state.
the landowner applied for enrollment in the Chapter 61A?
So from me, it goes to the state for
Yeah.
approval, and from the state back to the landowner, and then it's on the landowner to deliver it over to the assessor. So I don't know whether or not it's gone from the landowner to the assessor, but the forestry plan has been prepared.
I'd like to find out if that process has been completed or not. You know, that seems like a lapse in the link for approval of the harvesting plan.
The state, the state approves cutting plans based on their own preparation. If there's a forest management plan, it has to work inside the forest management plan. So, when I turn in the forest management plan, which is of course a long-term forestry plan, it's not to just go in and strip off timber. They looked at both plans and said, this works, and they worked in conjunction and approved both. Whether or not the landowner had some issue with actually filing for Chapter 61, I don't know.
I'd like to know.
Right. I think that's reasonable. I'm still,
I don't understand why.
let me just back up a little bit, because then we're gonna open, it's a public hearing, so we'll open it up to comments from the audience, but our agent indicates on the back that she recommends several things, and then she says a wetland and stream was added on the southwest portion of the lot. The plan must be amended if this area is to be harvested or crossed. I'm very confused now. Was this added after the approval back in September under the other forester? Or was this added way back in September? When I read this, it makes it appear that it was changed after the fact. And if that's the case, I think the current forester needs to relook at the plan and give the stamp of approval. I mean, I'd kind of like to know, was the plan changed from the time the prior forester approved it till now? And if not, if it hasn't changed, what does she mean when she says it was added on the southwest portion of the lot? If you know.
So if it was added, then that means it probably was added between when I first turned the plan in and when the plan was approved, because Rebecca got a copy from me, which was not approved, because I submit a plan to the Conservation Commission at the same time that I submit one to the state. And then when the plan is approved, the state sends another copy of the approved plan to the Conservation Commission.
And did she receive it?
That's where this is coming from.
So, again,
she
was
got an
this
approved
added, was this
plan.
added in September, or was it added after?
It was added while the plan was being approved. So if
So-
the
so
state
that was-
forester calls me, or we have to meet out there and says, you know what, this really looks like a stream, we add it. So then it's added, then the plan is approved. So it's already gone through the process of being added and approved under the state forester's purview.
So you're saying it was added and approved in September of 2017?
Yes.
Okay, so why is she saying it was added after? It's implying that it was added after, that she didn't have an opportunity.
So there's the first copy.
She said
Which
the
was not
plan must be, she underlines
and-
this though, hold on.
I understand, and then it
The
was.
plan must be amended if this area is to be harvested or crossed.
So-
Was it amended and then reapproved
It
after
must-
the amendment?
It must have been amended and approved, because the plan is approved with that stream and wetland on it, because if Rebecca has it, it was a copy that was approved and sent to her by the state.
Well, why does she indicate, Leon, if you know, why is she
I
indicating that it
don't know the answer
needs
to
to be
that.
amended?
It sounds like a mistake.
Well,
It was amended before it was approved, because the
Yeah.
plan is approved with that amendment. And it's not
I'm
technically.
not, I just think there's a difference of opinion here, because I think I'm reading her memo correctly.
I think you're reading
That
it
she's certainly
correctly.
not on the same page. I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm just saying there is a discrepancy between what she thinks and what you're saying, because she's clearly saying the plan must be amended.
I think
So,
she's mistaken.
you think she's mistaken?
Amended before it was approved.
And maybe we need to,
Because how else would she have seen a stream and wetland that were added to the plan?
well, it could be a new plan that wasn't the same plan. She got it, but it might not have
Yeah,
been.
I'm the one who submitted the plans.
Okay.
So if it went to her and it was approved, then it was amended. Yeah, so do you have the approved plan?
Do we, Leon?
I believe you do.
Yeah, but,
So this is the approved plan with the notes from the service forester. Okay, so this is approved. Right? It's not an official amendment, because an amendment is something that would happen during work.
okay.
So this is, she added a stream and a wetland, and that's the state forester's writing.
Right, so
She added that, and then so I think Rebecca is mistaken in that comment, that it must be amended, because it was amended.
Okay.
And then it was approved.
just understand, everything that's bulleted on the second page is not coming from the conservation agent. It's coming from the forest, the state forester. Those comments that you see bulleted are duplicated on the first page of the forest cutting plan under best management practices.
So I'd also like to make one
Okay, so you're
comment.
saying that it was, well, she's using the word amended, I know you
Okay.
think that's not a correct term.
It's-
But
so-
you're saying that the plan, I know these are the forester's comments, but she's reiterating them.
That's correct.
Okay, so
Right.
you're saying that the final plan does in fact include the southwest portion?
On this page, she's reiterating the state forester's comments that are listed here.
And the comments say that the plan the plan must be amended if this area is to be harvested. So
Okay.
it doesn't have to be amended. But if we want to harvest or cross that brook or work in that wetland, at that point, the state forester says, you're not approved. You can't do this
Okay,
work
so you're-
unless it's amended. That's what the issue is here. It's not that the plan needs to be amended as is, but if we decide we want to do that work, at that point, it would have to be amended.
Okay, and you're not coming forward with that particular work tonight?
It's,
Okay. I think it's probably time to get some input from those in attendance. So would somebody like to come forward for comment? Okay. And state your name and also fill out our attendance sheet if you would. Okay, we'll go back to you. Okay, bring that up when you.
Ed Goodwin, 19 Orchard Road, Chairman of the Conservation Commission. I would ask that, I'm concerned about the precedent being set here, not allowing Conservation Commission to review the site. I think a lot of what you're talking about here, it could be magic, you know, and talking about protecting streams that we can't go on to see if they're being damaged, makes no sense at all. So I would ask them for a continuation and get Becky on the site to take a look at it with the existing plan. Otherwise, you know, what Forrest is saying is that the state makes a decision and they come and have you certify it, even though nobody can go on the site. And that's not what we're looking for. We're not looking for any great problems, but we certainly want to protect the wetland streams on the site and make sure the town gets the best plan possible.
Can I ask a question? If you know, if you don't know, that's fine.
What?
Is this I mean, can I ask you a
Yeah.
question that you
Yeah.
may not have the answer to?
Yeah.
But based on your experience, because I know you've been on Concom for a long time, is this the first time that an owner has not allowed an agent to look at the wetlands?
Yes.
In this type of situation?
It is the first time.
To the best of, in how many years?
And I've only been on for 33 years.
And no other owner has like
No
denied
other-
access?
No other owner has not allowed us on the site. So, but, and also, truth, be told, towns have become more and more interested in logging as time has gone on. Early on, there was less, local, you know what I'm saying. It's gradually the towns have become interested in, they've had problems with logging, and so therefore they become more alert to logging issues, and so that's kind of where we are today. It's just kind of evolving. And that's not to speak to Mr. Clark, because he's really good, and we've hired him ourselves, so I'm not, you know. And now I'll fill this out and get out of here.
Gotcha.
Okay. Kevin? You got another easy name, but just fill out our attendance sheet, if you
Kevin
would.
Smith, 148 Fisk Hill Road. So I have a clarification and then I guess a question. One is, you know, the things have been adjusted, so now it appears the landing zone, for lack of a better term, is gonna happen between the boathouse and Sue Haslam's house. There's an access road there that's been there for a very long time that can swing around and go to Old Farm Road. Is that correct? Is that where the landing zone's gonna be now?
yes.
Okay, so that road basically is about as wide as a driveway and is dirt. So is part of this like keeping that from getting destroyed as the trucks go back and forth on and off? Because not very far away is the other landing, you know, there was another logging project where a lot of the dirt got brought onto the road. Not a big deal, but they did a lot of work trying to shore up the road, you know, a lot of, I don't know what you want to call it. It's not as big as riprap, but it's not small stone either. Putting it down, trying to shore up that landing zone so the trucks could go in and off of Fisk Hill Road. And I'm pretty sure that same type of damage might be likely to occur here because it's just basically a dirt road. Is that part of the what's required by the state or what you can put on as restrictions?
Could you answer the first part about the state?
The first part is no, the state does not require how we stabilize a road. It's got to be stable. But I would say that the plan is not to put 6-inch minus riprap or tailings there, because that's a driveway. So even though Spencer Solar owns that road, the neighbor uses it to get in and out of his house.
I think it's a shared right of way, but, okay.
It's, no, he owns it, and I think he may have given a right-of-way to the neighbor. But anyway, I've spoken with the neighbor, and our intent is to make sure that that road is passable at all times for the guy that lives there. So that's,
I'm more thinking.
we
it
can't
would-
put big stone and have him ride the Honda out over that. It's not gonna be a logging road, it's gonna stay a dirt driveway.
Okay.
Is there gonna be any way of getting the mud off the tires before it gets on the road? Because usually that's one of the functions of that 6-inch
I think,
riprap.
what, even though we usually would use 6-inch minus
Yeah,
as a nice tracking pad, one of the reasons we use 6-inch minus and not better gravel is because it's cheap. So in this case, we've just got to use better quality gravel, but it's still gonna be a gravel road. So whether it's 6-inch minus or some other gravel, it's gotta be some kind of gravel. It's not gonna be a mud road up to Fisk Hill. So yes, we would get the mud off the tires. I can't promise that there will never be any mud on the tires leaving the woods, but we would have the road stable before we enter Fisk Hill.
Do you want to ask?
It's-
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
that's fine. The one question that we haven't gone over yet is, are you gonna use straight trucks, or you gonna use trailers for this?
Trailers,
Trailers? And what is gonna be your haul, route? Where are you going to?
straight north from Fisk Hill. I sent it to Greg Morris. I don't know the measurements off the top of my head, but it's just Fisk Hill north to 20, and then 20 east.
20 east, okay. So
think
you
we
won't be
go
going
20.
down Whittemore Road or down
No.
on the 131 side of Fisk Hill at all? So you'll be pretty good as far as brakes and all of that?
Yeah, so we'll be headed right north to the highways.
Okay, very good.
Along that line of thought, before we have more audience participation, Greg, would you come down and let us explain your memo and let us know if the proposed route is now satisfactory to you? And we know we need a bond already.
Well, the bond is a standard item for
Right.
any damage that happens on a town road, and especially when you have a landing and you don't put in a splash pad or a stone apron, you could get a lot of damage on the edges of the road or, things like that, and/or trucks turning in and out and breaking up other places. So the purpose of knowing the haul route, if it's, say it was gonna go to Connecticut, it could've went Fisk Hill South, across Wallace, down into Westville, and then either Mashpog or, towards Southbridge on West Street, so, not West Street, but South Street. So the purpose of knowing the haul route is to know which roads are gonna be affected. Are you gonna be on 3 miles of town road, or are you gonna be on 15 miles of town road? So, it's really just to find out where they're going, and so that we can, if we see some premature damage, we can say, hey, look, it's already starting to unravel, watch what you're doing, or you're gonna have to fix, or we're gonna fix it, or, take your bond. So, that's the purpose of the bond, to fix any damage that's done. And, the other thing on the landings, having different landings in different locations, it's certainly, the middle one is a right-of-way, that's part of that parcel. There is a use over it for the house, because their driveway does go in the back of the house. It's a Fisk Hill number, but their driveway comes off of this parcel land, goes into the back of the house. But that is solely owned by, this landowner. And, he certainly has a right to use it, and can't find fault with that, so.
My only question on that end of it was, the road is a big thing, but when you come into breaking power, if he's grossing 99,000 or 104 or whatever he's
Yeah.
grossing, coming down any place but the way he's going out, I would seriously question the braking effect on the trucks, because we've had a lot of them come down and go right across Fisk Hill.
Oh, yeah. You
At
know, like
131 and
zigzagging
Whittemore
down
Road is
Whittemore
even
Road
steeper.
with a trailer is
That's
not,
exactly
you know,
it.
an ideal situation.
It's, if something happens and he's got wet brakes or whatever, or a wheel seal leaking, we got a problem, and I don't
Yep.
want anybody killed in this thing.
And what was the other part,
Sir?
one was the bond and one was,
The bond and whether that hauling route is
yeah, no,
acceptable
that's
to
fine.
you.
That's actually,
What you prefer.
it's actually the ideal, or, you know,
Exactly.
the ideal
Yep, no, I got no problem with that at all.
distance away from the site, you know.
Okay, good. Do we have any more input from anybody?
Peter Zay, 42 Old Farm Road. Just a question. Obviously, I was here because I was concerned about using the Old Farm Road access road. The fact that you've decided not to do that, does that mean there won't be any use of that access road on Old Farm Road? They will use it for parking, they won't bring any heavy equipment in at all, won't be any
I mean,
landing zone there?
You know, if he owns, I know that the DPW maintains that road, but if someone had a maintenance issue and drove a pickup truck down the road, that might happen. But aside from that, there won't be big trucks going down Old Farm Road.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, could you just fill out our attendance sheet? Okay. Anybody else, comments?
Madam Chair, before you close the hearing, may I provide one comment?
Certainly.
It's been brought to my attention this morning that Fisk Hill Road is a scenic road. DCR best management practices dictate a 100-foot buffer. So pointing that out to you, I don't know if you're planning to clear along Fisk Hill Road, but just be careful for that.
We were gonna use a landing on Fisk Hill, but it was more just to have options. We're not gonna use it, so I doubt we'll do anything right along Fisk Hill anyway.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Can we get a copy of the forest management plan with Mr. Chapman's signature on it? Because, you know, without that management plan, the agricultural exemption would not exist, so. Under the
Is this the one that the assessors would have?
Yeah, well, if they're not gonna put it in chapter, at least he has to have a forest management plan.
He's got a forest management plan.
If he signed it and submitted it to the state, I just, you know, like, I mean, in order for this, for the state to approve the permit, there has to be a forest management plan, but I just, or there should be a forest management plan.
They don't have to, because, you know, some people don't wanna put it into chapter 61
Yeah,
because they don't wanna lien on the property. So they may just decide that they would pay full-blown taxes.
yeah,
I
But-
don't know whether he turned it in or not. So
but,
it's not required to have one of these approved.
but if there's no forest management plan that the owner has, then it's not it's not necessarily an agricultural exemption. He could be just cutting the land to put a solar farm there, or cutting the land for residential development. You understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah, but that's not true.
Well,
So,
give us the forest management plan.
okay, this is a forest cutting plan that is the agricultural exemption. So, under this plan, which is only good for 2 years, there can be no stump removal, there can be no, you know, unapproved clear cutting, there's no paving. So this plan has to be done as it is forestry. If the landowner ever wants to do anything else, this plan only covers cutting trees. It doesn't even cover removal of stumps. So if he wants to do anything else following this work, this plan has to be final, and then he would have to go in front of whatever appropriate board to get some other work approved. So this is only for tree cutting. That's it. So these happen all the time with no chapter 61, and they still get the agricultural exemption, which allows stream crossings and wetland crossings that you can't get otherwise. I will get the chapter 61 plan forwarded over to you, though.
Thank you.
It's on public record. The state will email it, and I'll send it along to Colleen King.
Okay.
I have some more comments, but do we have any more input from the public? Yes, come on forward and fill out our attendance sheet if you would.
I may have missed some of this, hard of hearing.
That's okay. We're repeating ourselves, so that's fine.
Jeff Cooper, 123 Fisk Hill Road. And sort of a general question about the cutting. Is this going to be a clear cut or selective cut?
It's a selective cut.
It's a selective cut. And if that's the case, what happens to the stuff that's left over after a selective cut? You mow that out, or just wood chip it out, or
Rots.
just stays there?
There's slash laws. We do chip tops, so we remove as much of the top as possible, but the trees break when they hit the ground. And what breaks, we don't pick up with our hands, we just let it rot.
Biomass.
No, just leave it, and
Yeah.
it just rots, okay?
And the other major concern I have, maybe shared with a lot of people in Fisk Hill and Mill Farm, is there a requirement for a setback or a buffer zone from the back of our property lines to where this operation starts and stops? Is it 50 feet, is it 100 feet, is it 200 feet?
Zero. There's no buffer.
There's no buffer.
Buffer.
So you can cut way up to the property line.
No. No, I know.
Is that sealed
May I-
in stone? Can that be debated? Can that be changed? That's pretty drastic.
Okay, I'm going to give you the short answer, then I'm going to have our town administrator elaborate. But it's my understanding that some towns don't even hold these type of hearings. We like to because we want to give the opportunity for everybody that may be affected to voice their concerns. And a lot of times there's collaboration with the forest cutter.
Right.
And, we can reach agreement, and that's why we do it. But we're very limited in terms of our jurisdiction over these kind of things. Often, people will come forward, and reasonably so, I would too, if, as a property owner, want a buffer, but we can't impose that
Okay.
on them. That is a state permit, and the buffers would have to, we would be exceeding our authority, and,
Yeah,
you know,
well, I'm just voicing my concern.
I know, I
that,
agree, and honestly, if we could, I would love a municipality to be able to put a buffer around it for the protection of the other property owners' privacy.
Something that's reasonable.
But
you know,
it's
type
not-
of reasonable thing here, because not so much my house, but many other houses on Fisk Hill, but we're close to the back property line. And also there's a noise factor. There's a fiber optics concern on Hall Road, which you can hear the compressor in the summer. And I'm kind of concerned that if the trees are thinned out, without any kind of a buffer at all, that noise will be even louder.
Right.
So, okay.
Again, we have standard conditions. We don't allow cutting on Sundays, holidays, limited cutting on Saturdays, no cutting after dusk, safety features.
Well, I wasn't talking about the cutting itself. was
I
talking about the-
understand, but
Yeah.
I understand, once it thins out, you're gonna hear the noise. But those are the types of regulations and conditions we can impose. Buffers and that type of thing is not something that we can impose.
Okay.
If the noise, you're talking about the noise after the trees are cut, and we're just not able to regulate that, unfortunately.
How could I, or would I be able to delve a little bit deeper into that problem? Will be,
Contact the state forester, Leon, or?
You can change the law, or you could just give me a call and we can say,
that's
Did you mark the
reasonable.
trees? Did you mark the trees that you planted, cut down?
so,
Yeah,
no, mark the
yeah.
trees that we would leave, and I know that most of the houses on Fisk Hill, except maybe the first one,
I'm gonna say something.
we're pretty far back. I mean, even the property line is pretty far back from many of
most
the
of them
houses.
are, actually, okay. So if I had any questions about,
Just call me.
yeah, okay, all right, that's reasonable.
Could you provide your phone, or your email or something? You have it? To any landowner that might have a question?
Actually do.
Anybody else, comments from the public? Okay, oh, Greg, no. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so, I wonder, I'm tempted to continue the hearing in that, Selectman Supranat wants a signed copy of the management plan. I know it's a matter of public record. But I also want to know, I agree that, with the chair of the Conservation Commission, I mean, if we're supposed to be stewards of the wetlands, and we have to, in essence, make sure, under state law, that they're taken care of, it's very difficult when we're denied access and she has to look at an aerial view. So I'm wondering, and I know, this might be a legal question, and I don't have the answer to it, but are we, legally allowed, access if the property owner says no? I know it's been said in 30 years it's never happened, so maybe it's a case of first impression. But I want to know, what are our rights in the sense that, it's very limited what the conservation agent can recommend or not, because she didn't have a chance to really look at the land. So that's my first question. And my second question is, let's assume that there is no right at all. I would like our conservation agent to at least notify the current forester to let them know that they're gonna have to keep a much closer eye on whether best practices are followed, because the Sturbridge conservation agent couldn't even get on the property. And I know the forester can get on the property because they wouldn't be able to issue the license from the state, the permit from the state. So he or she clearly can get on the property. We can't. So I think that that person should be aware of that and not be depending on Sturbridge to come up with conditions that perhaps if she was, and I know this is, you're not the owner, but perhaps if she was allowed on the property, she might have other recommendations that she would like to recommend, and it might be satisfactory. He seems very reasonable about trying to accommodate with respect to landings and what road you haul from. But I think that the current forester should know that Sturbridge has not gotten on the property. And,
And I would add to that, I'm sure that the forester has done a good job, representing the wetlands and such. But the authority to determine where a wetland exists or not lies with either the Conservation Commission or the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection. And usually the primary authority is the local Conservation Commission. So if the Conservation Commission, if there are issues on that were brought up with the Conservation Commission's memo, I think the conservation agent has to be allowed to either confirm the forest cutting plan, the location of the streams and so forth. I know this has been going on a long time. We had a former conservation agent look at it, and we had a former state forester look at it before, and now there's all new people involved, so I empathize with your frustration, but I think the conservation agent, the current conservation agent, should be allowed on the property, and I don't know why the owners wouldn't allow that. It just boggles my mind why they wouldn't. I mean, that's the authority to either confirm or not confirm that your plan is correct.
and we may not be able to, but I would like counsel's opinion at least. If we're told that we can't, then the state forester has to know that we haven't been on the property, so they're not able to give good recommendations with respect to wetlands.
Well, I think to your second question or second comment, I think it doesn't necessarily reflect on the first. I think that if the Board of Selectmen were to ask the town administrator to direct this information to the DCR, we could do that whether or not we have rights to go onto the property or not, I
In
think
terms of informing.
that's what I'm saying.
That's what I
Yeah,
would
that's
like.
exactly what I'm saying, because that's easy.
Right,
That's,
okay.
that's extremely, that's easy. We can accommodate that in, 3 hours tomorrow. We can find out who the new DCR representative is and notify them of this conversation here tonight. I don't know the answer to your first question, but I don't think the second question actually depends on the answer.
No, it doesn't. I mean, at least I would like them to know, and then, we'll take it from there at our next meeting. If they know and they still have their stamp of approval and don't expect Sturbridge's conservation to come up with, to be stewards of the land in essence, then we'll move forward at that time. But I also would like that signed management plan, that's
Is
on
a
file.
signed management plan required of all cutting plans in Sturbridge?
Do we typically have one?
We never required one,
Oh, we haven't, okay,
not that I'm aware of.
okay.
But isn't it required when you, to have a forest management plan in effect when you do a forest cutting plan? It's not required?
People cut timber all the time that don't have a forest management plan.
Okay, well, I don't think we can require something that we haven't had, but,
So,
so I don't know. I mean, I don't know, if somebody wants to, I'll entertain a motion from my colleagues, if somebody wants to make a motion to approve the plan, subject to the conditions that we always impose, I will take a motion.
just to remind the board, you did close the public hearing.
I did.
Yeah, we did close.
Okay.
So,
I'm sorry, I don't know if we voted to close it, though. I guess we did. He
did.
moved second. We
yeah,
did.
we did. So,
Do I have a motion to continue the hearing to a future date pending?
Well, you did close the hearing.
we closed the
You'd be
hearing.
making the
We
decision
closed
on
it, so we can't continue it.
You would make
Oh, I'm
the
sorry,
decision.
so I need, okay, so,
So,
I'm sorry, that was a procedural problem.
I
the,
think it's good.
What can we do to undo that?
Well, you could,
Reopen the public meeting, public hearing?
you could vote to rescind the last vote, and that would keep the hearing open.
Okay, let's
But-
do that.
Are you looking to get testimony from the public in the future, or are you
Well,
looking
I'm looking to
just for deliberation by the board?
deliberation by the board.
You don't have to reopen the hearing, though.
Okay.
You could just delay the decision to your next meeting.
Okay, so not a motion to continue the public hearing, but do I hear a motion to continue our
Deliberation.
deliberation on the proposed cutting plan until till the next available date on our agenda,
Well, we'll put it on
for
for,
the next
we'll put
one,
it on for our next meeting.
for our next meeting.
Are you going to require that the applicant be present?
I would like the applicant to be present. I don't know, that's my opinion, I don't know how everybody else feels.
Well, I think that we should be able to get access to the property to make a proper decision. You know what I
Well-
mean? There's something going on, and I don't know what it is,
No,
but
we
if
don't
there's nothing
know-
going on, then why wouldn't they let us on the property?
Well, we may not be able to do that legally.
Okay.
But we're deliberating.
That's right.
Our decision, because we at least want the state forester to know that unlike the last 30 years, we haven't been able to get on the property, and I want the forester to know that with respect to any conditions that are being recommended by our conservation agent. And I would request that our conservation agent be at our next meeting as well.
I'd like to make a motion that we continue the meeting, until the next meeting.
I'll second
And
that.
that's because of the fact that we've got some information that hasn't been answered and have to be reviewed by legal counsel before we go any further.
I seconded the motion to continue our deliberation until the next meeting.
Okay, do we have a date for the next meeting so we can tell the applicant?
March 5th.
Yeah.
They're gonna vote now. Okay.
Yes.
All in favor? Okay, so March 5th. And we will have our agent here so that,
I would just say, that all that we've gone through for the meeting, instead of asking permission, she should just say, I'm going to the property.
we don't know if well, she can't say that if
Because
if we're
then she
not
couldn't have
legally.
been denied, so he denied not knowing that He didn't have the option not to do it.
We don't know that he doesn't have the option not to deny. That's why we're going to
But we want to
inquire
talk
of
to legal
that.
counsel.
She certainly can't say, I'm coming on the property, if she's not entitled to do that. But we, at a minimum, can't, because then we're in trouble. So she can't impose that, but we are at least, and I think there's, because of, as we said, there's a new state forester, there's a new conservation agent. She raises a lot of concerns in here, and I think at a minimum, we need to let the current state forester know that we didn't have access to the property, and they're going to have to monitor it, because now we can't even monitor it because we can't get on the property. And I think that that is like material information that the current forester should be aware of, and that's what we're going to do in the interim between now and our next meeting, is let the current state forester know the circumstances.
May I interrupt?
I'm done.
I suppose all of that would be moot if in the meantime, our conservation agent was given authority to go onto the property.
Right.
That's good. Yeah.
But we have to assume she won't, but you're correct.
Can I just ask one question if I can?
Yep.
I mean, he's got a lot of experience in this. Have you ever had a conservation agent deny access to a customer's property?
Because, just like Ed said, there's more and more interest from conservation commissions. And there are only, I'm sure there are more, but there are only 2 towns that I know of that actually have a bylaw and a hearing, Sturbridge and Leicester. And in every other case, conservation agents will sometimes show up on the property without permission, but they're denied permission many times because the landowner and even the state forester are not looking for any additional input. They're just not, because the state forester, say Kate, had 32 towns, and maybe in those 32 towns, 47 active projects, and she doesn't need additional input.
So you've had it happen before?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And we're certainly not gonna go on without
Spencer,
permission.
I get a phone call from the conservation agent that she needs to do an inspection because we're clear cutting a wetland. All of it is false. So in that case, yeah, she's denied because we can handle the problem, which isn't a problem, without her assistance.
Okay.
Which is, if that's the way they want to handle it, that's fine. But I think the state forester needs to know that they have to do all the monitoring, because we can't. So we'll continue it.
We'll continue the deliberation and
We'll continue the deliberation till March
Yeah.
5.
That's it.
And our agent will be here as well,
Well,
hopefully, if possible.
I'll make sure.
If possible.
I'll make sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Have safe travels.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Madam Chair, next is department head reports.
Okay, planning, Jean?
Don't take it personally, Gene, you know?
Jean cleared the house.
Good evening. I provided my written report to you and listed out all the details of our meetings over the past 6-month period. Our department provided support for 20 meetings, and we did, per your request at, I believe the last time I was here, you asked that all of their actions be spelled out on the report, so I've done that for you. I don't know if you had any specific questions on any of the board actions. If not, I could just talk a little bit about some of the larger projects that we're working on in the department.
Any questions? You want Jean to keep moving forward?
No, when I read through it, I just was gonna compliment Jean on it. It's very, it's a great summary and reminder of the last 6 months. Thank you very much for writing it up like that.
She's very
Okay.
detail-oriented.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's good.
You have to be on the planning.
Yeah, yes, definitely. It's the nature of the beast. So I'll just talk a little bit about our large projects that we're working on. We have really 3 main focuses right now, and one is the open space and recreation plan. Our current plan expires in May, so we've been working with the open space committee to update that plan. We've also contracted with the CMRPC to do a survey and citizens participation forum, and we're hoping to have a forum at the end of March. And we will have surveys on the website that town residents can fill in to give us input on what they would like to see for recreation and open space. And we're trying to focus a bit more in this plan on groundwater protection in light of some issues with neighboring towns and our own McGilpin Road. We just felt that was a very important aspect of the plan, and we're trying to cover that in more detail than we had in the previous plan. So I'd encourage everyone to participate, and we will be notifying of those meetings and give people opportunity to come in and give us their thoughts. And we're also planning to do a photo contest, so if people want to be thinking about when they're out on the open space lands or on the trails or maybe recreation, if they want to submit their photos, we will be selecting photos for use in the open space plan. We thought it was a really good way to get the residents involved on our lands and in thinking about what's important to them on those lands, and hopefully they'll get a little credit in our new open space plan. And then at the end of March, we'll be starting our permit software implementation, and we expect this to be a long, tedious process as it normally is. So we're expecting work hours of about 20 per week out of the planning department, trying to complete all the work processes and flows for all of the departments, and figuring out who needs what permissions and what types of permits go to which departments for approval. So while it will be a lot of work, we're hoping that it's much more streamlined for staff and also for residents and builders, as they will be able to apply for certain permit types online when we get the new program implemented. And recreational marijuana, of course, I am trying to learn as much as I can about recreational marijuana, attending as many sessions as possible, and I'm hoping to begin in March to provide some information to the planning board so they can start thinking about bylaw choices as we move forward with that. And then the sign class that I'm doing for Kevin Thursday was already mentioned, so I don't really need to talk about that. And I don't know if there's any questions.
On the recreational marijuana bylaw, it looks like that would have to be, you had said before that it's not going to be ready for annual town meeting, so.
That's right.
It looks like we'd have to have a special town meeting. Do you think
Correct.
the planning board could complete it by, say, the end of the summer in case?
Yes.
Because depending on what happens, we might have to go back and have, in addition to a special town meeting, we may have to have a vote, a townwide vote on the matter again, so that both town meeting and the vote of the town are the same. If that's the case, we have to get it done by the end of the year.
Right.
And so there is going to be an election in the fall, in November, so I would hope do you think the planning board can get it done well in advance of November? So if town meeting's action is something that requires a vote, that it could be done at the special, at the November election, rather than having a special election on the issue.
Yes, I definitely believe so. At this point, I'm proceeding as it's a permitted use, or will be a permitted use, barring any further action from the Board of Selectmen to try to prohibit it. I'm approaching this as I would any other bylaw development. I think that we have a lot of standards in our medical marijuana bylaw that we can draw from, and it's really just, time, place, and manner. So I think that, it should be fine to be able to meet those deadlines, and in fact, I would like to have it done by the end of summer at the latest, earlier if possible.
Yeah. Look, my sense of the Board of Selectmen is not entirely sure that there won't be another attempt to prohibit outright, so.
That's correct. So, I just want to be prepared in case that doesn't happen, or in case it fails again. But while I'm gathering information and putting together a kind of, I'll call it a skeleton of a bylaw, I'm going to wait and take cue from the Board of Selectmen and the residents to see what the vote may be.
Very good.
Can I follow up with that?
Oh, sure, of
Okay.
course.
I also had my own, well, because it deals with the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's correct. I personally, given the town-wide vote, would want to go back to town meeting. However, we have learned that we really can't do anything at this point to prevent the one facility that has already been approved for a medical facility, to stop them. It's my understanding from council that they are able to, as a matter of right, transition to recreational use.
It's my understanding, in speaking with Joel after the meeting, and actually from some questions to the Cannabis Control Commission, that if a town votes a prohibition, then it is not allowed. If a town does not vote to prohibit, and we allow recreational marijuana, then no matter where we decide,
Medical marijuana or recreational marijuana?
recreational, excuse me, if we decided to prohibit recreational marijuana, then that facility, the medical facility, cannot just transition to
Okay.
selling recreational. If we allow recreational, then what we can't prohibit is, if we decided not to allow retail shops in where the medical marijuana overlay district is right now, we could not still prevent Heal from operating there. But that doesn't mean anyone else would be able to start up in that district. So there's a difference
Okay, so,
on,
hold on, I thank you, but I'm gonna express, not with you, my frustration with council, because that's exactly what I asked when he was before us. And I said, it sounds to me like we can't prohibit Heal, the medical facility, from transitioning to recreational. And we've lost it on that count, and the whole board was upset. I mean, Priscilla was particularly upset as well, but that we could prevent other potential recreational facilities to come in. And he said, yes, that's correct. And now, with all due respect, and I'm happy to hear this, don't get me wrong, now Jean's telling us, something different, which was my initial belief in the first place.
Right.
That's what I believed in the first place. And that's why, one of the reasons we moved forward, we got the town-wide vote, then we went to town meeting and it flipped. And he said, well, it has to be both because it's gonna be a zoning change. And then later on, we're told, well, you can't prohibit the medical facility from transitioning, you can just prohibit others. And I mean, I could listen to the tape, the question was very direct and crystal clear, and he answered it, and now it appears that it wasn't the correct information.
well, I'm not town council, but.
I understand,
that-
but you approach, so.
But I did question after that, and I also, when I went to the seminar on that Friday, had that question, so
And that question was asked.
it was.
And
I
were
can
you-
reach out to Joel again for clarification, but that was my understanding, that, I think his response was, if we don't have a prohibition, which right now we don't.
That's common sense, we know that.
Right.
No, I did not ask that. I said, there's no way we can stop Heal. He said, no, you can't. But you
I think your
can't stop
your
other.
recollection is.
That's correct, I mean, and now we find out that it's not the case. So I would like to put that back on a future agenda for purposes of discussion. And I would like something in writing by town council on that question in particular. And I'd like him to stand behind whatever the memorandum that he signs, because I'm very frustrated by all of this back and forth. Am I wrong?
The laws are changing by the minute. I mean,
Well-
we've got a 5-year hold on Heal.
Not that long, because Jean inquired of him right after that meeting. So she must have inquired for a reason, because there's a miscommunication.
Yeah.
And it was a crystal clear question. And I also asked it in writing many months ago, and he said one thing, and then it seems to have changed. So I'd like something nice and clear on that particular question.
Jean and I will speak with our council, and we will get you the answer in writing.
Okay. Sorry, I'm taking it out on you, but it's a very frustrating
Oh, it's all
topic,
right.
and I can't believe it's changed a few times now, and we've asked the question very clearly. I have, on a brighter note, I know that you've approved a fast casual special permit for the new hotel.
For Panera Bread.
Yeah, for
correct.
Panera, and also the seated restaurant, right? That didn't need a special permit, did it?
No,
Okay.
no.
But I have a lot of residents asking if you know, like, when it's Did he give any indication?
The
of
ball's, no, they haven't, the ball's in their court now, so they've been granted all the zoning approvals that they need, and they've been through design review and planning, so the next phase would be a building permit, so it's, the ball's in their court as to when they're going to apply. I would assume that sometime this spring we'll start to see construction.
Okay, awesome, all right. Any questions, Craig?
No, I'm good, Mary, I'm just relaxing over here now. Trying to hold it all together.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
awesome. Jean, thank you. It's always very professional and give us your reports. All right, who's next?
Shane? Shane?
Oh, Shane, come on forward with for the water department.
Good evening, Mr. Movie.
Hey, how you doing?
Good yourself.
The first thing I want to start with is the last time I was before you, I told you that the wastewater plant and the town of Sturbridge and Veolia was recognized for their safety program and their safety record. Zachary is actually the supervisor of the wastewater plant, but he's also acts as the site safety coordinator for Veolia. So he's actually the one that filled out the application, and it's a lengthy process. And it actually went into Boston and picked up the award. So I thought it was fitting to bring him in, introduce him to the board, and let Zach give you guys your plaque.
Absolutely.
So that's
And
what I'd like to do right now.
Kudos to you, congratulations on a job well done.
And if we can get some pictures, please.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
So if you guys can go behind.
So this was at the WEF conference in January?
Yes.
You don't want to be in the picture, Leon?
No, it's okay.
Let's get the ones who deserve it to be in the front.
That's right.
Come on, boys, young men, compared to me, compared to me.
We all have to get the picture.
Oh,
Craig, you can't stand
There was a
behind.
guy saying girl.
Girl, I know, that's why I said young men, but he's, no, that's a
Hold
compliment.
it up high. There you
I
go.
took it back.
1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Thank you so much for all your hard work. And thank you for bringing.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So this should really go in the, where are we gonna put this in?
We have one, there was 2 copies,
Oh.
so there's one hanging in the wastewater
We'll hang
plant,
one.
and that's yours.
Super.
Water Environment Federation, New England Water Environment Association, presented to Viola in recognition of the excellence of its active and effective safety program and safety record 2018. This is worthy of a lot of congratulations. Thank you.
No, thank you. It's a pretty important award. And like, he does a great job with the safety program. Not that he likes it, but it allows me to do other things too, so.
I'm sure it's very tedious, right?
Yeah, very.
How long ago was the last employee reported injury?
It was before I started working here.
Really?
So I've been here 12 years now. I think, well, we have one lost time accident in the whole time we've been here. And it wasn't even at the wastewater plant, it was at the water plant, and the guy threw out his back picking something up.
And how long have you been here?
Amazing.
Been here 12, almost, well, May will be 12 years.
That's an excellent record.
That is
That is
fantastic.
very
So,
commendable.
yeah, it's something we're proud of, something we work hard at.
Very commendable.
We have meetings every month.
Yep.
So,
Do you get work that's a little more, less tedious that you enjoy too?
Yeah.
Okay, we just want to make sure you stay and you're happy
It's a huge part of the,
of what you do.
yeah, because obviously there's a lot of risks.
Yeah, those are just amazing statistics.
Some other things for you, very quickly, I don't want to take up much of your time. The CCR reports are done. I've gotten approval from the DEP. It's at the printers right now. And once I get the PDF back, I'll be contacting Leon to get the link, and then we'll mail out postcards to everybody like we do every other year. So that'll be happening soon. The CDX solids report's done, and last year when you asked me about that, I thought we could just attach the T-clip to our reports, and that's not the case. So we had conversations with the EPA, and we actually opened up the biosolids page, and if you go to it now, everything's reported the way it's supposed to be. Because I know you'd asked about that last year. So we've taken care of that. We worked with Time Bond this morning doing the flow testing, so the McGilpin Road stuff is moving forward. The zinc pilot's still continuing, it's still something we're working on. It's frustrating, but we're not giving up yet. We're still working with Time Bond, we've got another plan moving forward, and hopefully we're gonna have a little more success than we've had in the past. And that's all I have for you this evening. I don't know if you have any questions.
I've got a question on the haulage. How are we doing versus getting the haulage in here and getting them paid for it versus keeping the
Well,
haulage
right now, we're
down?
not even taking outside septage. It's just in-town septage only, so we're not taking very much.
You're not taking any?
No, I think, if you look on the report,
Yep.
it might have been 40,000 in town, and we were taking some out of town, but we started having zinc problems again, so we had to shut it down. So there's really not a lot of septage coming to the plant, but it's that time of year where we don't receive a lot of septage anyways.
Gotcha. Okay.
Any other questions?
Okay.
Good night.
You too, thank you.
Be good, thank you.
Thank you for the award.
I know, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Where are we gonna put it? Okay, I think, Greg.
Oh, just a little bit on the zinc. The zinc, we can meet the permit, but the methods that we're putting, 400 to 600 pounds of lineman per day at a very low flow, so that if we go up to, 1 million gallons a day or 1.3 million gallons a day, we're gonna be putting in like 2 ton of,
Truckloads.
yeah, we're gonna be putting in truckloads of lime to neutralize it, get the right pH, and it's not practical. So why we're gonna keep,
Is
even
this-
though we're meeting the permit, which is, everybody's happy about, we still wanna get, we'd like to get one more step improved so that we streamline it a little better than what it is.
Not being well versed in the sewage business, but is the pH being affected by something? We're putting in a lot more lime than we have.
Well,
Is there something coming into the system?
The groundwater in Sturbridge is kinda naturally acidic, and, so, it can be a little corrosive, but what they're looking for there, in this particular thing, the alkalinities, we're trying to bring the alkalinity down and neutralize it, so even though we have acidic water, we're still getting other, contaminants in there, and the alkalinity is higher than.
But just know, whether you think it's something that's entering the system illegally, let's say, or in a...
No, I don't think it's illegal.
Higher
I
road?
don't think it's illegal. I think
Yeah.
it's, just
Just the way it is,
just the way it
based on
is.
the area,
yeah.
okay.
And we have, kinda suspended the hauling a little bit, but, we've tested several loads. We had one load came up, it was a little alarming, but we've tested, 10 other ones, and they're fine. So we can't exactly say it's definitely out, out-of-town septic. We can't say that, because the tests haven't proven
Yeah.
it out, but.
I wasn't even saying that, I was saying something
no,
coming
right.
into your system from a commercial operation around here or something else, it shouldn't be coming in.
So it's just, can we meet the permit? Sure, but is it good? Is it sustainable for 25 years? And not really, so that's why we're still messing with it. Basically, January, December and January, we've been working on the roads and stuff. This last couple weeks there, we've kinda had a run on bad luck on some of the equipment. We had, early in the year, we had H-23, which is a 98, go down, and, thing's 20 years old, so we just kinda pushed that off to the side. I think it's a transmission or clutch transmission combination, but it's, I'm, just haven't got to the point where I don't know if I wanna commit much money to it, being 20 years old. The real alarming thing was H-10, which is only, started out the season only 7 years old. That had an issue, and we have that out for repair. And then last Sunday, we lost H9, and a lot of them are EGR coolers and oil coolers and this cooler and that cooler, and we just had kind of a bad run on them this year. So, we got plenty of equipment to make the winter, but those other trucks can't come too soon. That's all I'm gonna say. The kind of the interesting thing for the year is the annual man-day report, and the big ones: road maintenance, equipment maintenance, and storm-related work. It's 55% of the time we're doing that, and then sidewalk, cemetery, board of health, park and rec, water, town hall, sewer, tree warden, senior center and library is another 21. So the first page of it represents 76% of our time, 77% of our time, pretty much on water, sewer, roads, storm, landfill, and park and rec. So it's a pretty big combination. And then on the second page, it's the off time, which the 16.84% that's fairly low. I've seen that number considerably higher. It could be up to like 21%, but 15 to 17% is probably about the standard you get, and then the last 6% are miscellaneous building work, private road work, and trail work. But it's an interesting split on where everybody goes during the course of the year. And I did go to the meeting that they had for Mass DOT project for Snell, the culvert at Snell Street, and they're at 75% design. They're still a year away. They're talking April of 19 for a potential start date. And I said, I asked if that was firm, and they said, well, no, it could be anywhere between April and June. So we're not going to see any of that work on Route 20 done this year. So I was kind of hoping, that would get off the table, but it's not going to be this year.
What is, generally are they doing with that culvert?
They're going to come,
So they worked on it a few years ago, didn't they?
Yeah, they've been working on this to be at 75%. This is at least probably the third or fourth year that I've dealt with AI engineers, and they're essentially coming across the road at the inlet for Cedar Brook or Whitewater Brook there is gonna come across the road, fully across the road, make a 90-degree turn, and then go down partially in the road and partially under the sidewalk, past the old Yankee Workshop building, and then turn 90 off the road. So I think some of it is easements. They're trying to maintain one lane each way under all phases. It's gonna be 3 phases of construction, and they gotta secure easements on the Yankee Workshop side, and a little bit, not as much on the Yankee Candle side, but it is very tight. It's gonna be a very tough job, and I said, what, duration, contract duration? He says, well, we certainly hope it's done in, by fall, but he'll have 180 days. It's a 180-day construction period from the date they award it, so. But boy, that's a lot of work there. They gotta reroute the water line down the middle of the road, and they have to lower the sewer to be able to get across. And I was, I said, geez, wouldn't you want them to turn and come down on the Yankee Candle side and then turn around? You'd be crossing the sewer at a lower depth, or the sewer would be at a lower depth by the time you cross, number one. And number two, if you had a log or something jam up at the entrance, you can get to it, but now you gotta go all the way underneath the road, like 40 feet to hit the first 90-degree turn. So if a log gets in there, I don't know. But that's what they've chosen, and
Yep.
they're gonna have to live with it, but it's a tough,
That'll be an interesting road when we get a downpour.
it's gonna be
Put a log
interesting.
in there.
They are gonna add some catch basins on the would be the westerly side, which will help. And they're gonna redo the Snell Street intersection, so there's, you know, from the surface road part, there should be less puddling, but it's a tough.
Are they increasing the capacity?
It's a 6x10 culvert, and
That's considerably bigger than what's.
it's bigger than the, yeah, if you get underneath the old, and if you ever got underneath the old, it's like a stagecoach stone bridge. And it's only, right now, it's probably 4 feet high and maybe 6 feet wide. You know, you almost have to crawl through it to get through it, but, it's multi-sized, but the lowest point is almost like an original stone bridge that, for Route 20, and it's very small. And that's where everything backs up. So they should get improved hydraulic results out of it. It's a tough job. Other than that, that's about it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Before we do the town administrator's update, maybe we can do citizens forum, because
Well, we could do old business and new business, because the two people here, one is for old and one is for new.
oh, okay, good. I was trying to, I didn't know if they were gonna be under citizens forum, I'm trying to let them.
Under new business, you have a request from the Holiday Inn Express for a one-day liquor license in early March. We gave you in your agenda package the materials that we received on this item. It is going to be on Sunday, March 4th. And the reason we're doing this tonight is this is our last meeting before Sunday, March 4th. It is going to be at the Holiday Inn Express. It's for a baby shower that morning from 10 to 5 for 35 people.
Anybody have any questions?
On these one-day liquor licenses, do we have to have a responsible party in charge of that license? Do they have to be ditch trained, or? I'm just curious, because it looks like this is gonna be a continuing saga here. We seem to be issuing these on a
Well,
regular basis.
we've talked with the applicant about that, and perhaps maybe issuing them an actual liquor license to do this kind of thing. In the meantime, every one-day liquor license has a responsible party who is the applicant name. So they are required to be the permit holder, so they are the responsible party. So Holiday Inn Express Suites in Sturbridge is the applicant.
Okay, but the responsible party is gonna be the three individuals named?
That's
We have
correct.
to have a manager or
Well-
something that is gonna answer up.
The director of sales, I think, is Patty, yeah,
Patty McDonald.
and she's present. She's one of the three names.
And so, yeah, and that's the police chief's comment, is that you have to have properly trained servers are working at the event, so.
Are you here on behalf of the license? Yes. Okay, do you want to just come forward and say your name and fill out our attendance sheet? I'm sorry, that was on me. I just opened it up for our discussion before.
Yes, I'm Patty McDonald. I'm the sales director over at the Holiday Inn Express.
Okay.
And I handle all the meetings that take place and, so we're beginning to get a lot of meetings and parties and things like that. So we're thinking about getting an annual, or some type of liquor license, because
We're happy to have you keep coming back here over and over and over again.
because we're finding more and more that people are wanting to, use our facility for either regular parties or meetings, so this one, is just is a bridal shower, a baby shower. And I think they're just gonna have like a champagne punch kind of thing is what they're having. And I did, I know it's not on the agenda, but I just thought I would ask you if it's possible. We just got a last-minute call to have a 60th birthday party the day before on Saturday night. on the 3rd. I know, we just got this call, and so I said, I don't know if we can get a liquor license for that. I have the paperwork with me, but I need to, address it tonight. So I know it's just the baby shower now that we're talking about, but, Sure. Yeah, it's for the night before. They want to do it Saturday, the 3rd, from 6 to 11, and it would be a 60th birthday party for someone's mother. It's a surprise party. They're only going to have 30 people. And so-
She's 60 years old and had to raise some kids. She deserves it.
I know,
Deserves a liquor license.
I know. I know.
But
So, but we are
We can
getting,
address it. I just have a question for.
Sure.
For Leon. I don't know if we could, if that would violate our open meeting law, that it wasn't listed
Oh.
under new business tonight.
yeah,
If he says it's okay, then we'll move
Yeah.
forward.
do with it, yeah.
It was just like a last minute, they just called, they just said, are you available? I said, we are, but I don't know about the liquor
Leon,
license.
can we entertain that, the other request as well, or does that violate open meeting law because it wasn't listed?
Because it's a timing issue, you could entertain it, because you don't have another selectmen's meeting prior to the date of this event. So,
And it's usually what we anticipate, and this wasn't anticipated.
the one
So
thing that
think
I
we-
would caution the board on is that if you were to entertain this and vote in the affirmative, that it would be subject to the review by the police chief, because obviously his input has not been received by this meeting.
Yeah. If this, you've come to us with several, one-day liquor licenses, and I think what you suggested to start out your conversation would probably be advisable to get
Yeah,
a liquor license.
I agree, because, I'm
Then
getting
there would be
more
a-
and more calls for reunions, parties,
Yeah. Then there would be a manager in charge of the,
Right.
and making, so then we'd be assured that anybody that's serving would have been trained properly.
Right, well, we don't serve, what we do is we have them, they bring in their own,
You're not selling alcohol.
we're not selling it. They bring in their own alcohol, whatever they want to drink.
Oh.
We don't serve anything. They bring in their own.
So it's a BYOB.
It is sort of, but it's not a restaurant. They don't have that kind of a license, common victuals license, because they're not serving, well, you are serving food more than likely, but
No,
oftentimes
sometimes, sometimes we cater, and sometimes they bring in their own. Because we don't have a full-service restaurant, we offer them both options, so. But in this case, they're bringing in their own food.
So these people are not necessarily selling alcohol.
No, we're not.
You're providing a bar or something for their champagne or toast or whatever
They're,
it to be.
they're bringing everything. We're giving them ice, maybe, that's about it.
You don't serve them, you don't.
No, we don't serve them, they bring their own, whatever they're drinking, cups, everything. I mean, we just give them ice, basically, is all we do.
Oh. So then they may not be tip certified and all that.
They're not serving the alcohol.
Yeah.
They're not touching the alcohol themselves.
No, we're not.
Do you have an agreement that they sign between the hotel and the parties that want to do the liquor? Something to the effect that you're not responsible for anything to do with alcohol and what their options are as far as they are responsible for what they do with their alcohol in your facility?
We haven't done it yet. I mean, if that's something,
Well, I think I think you're offering that as a suggestion for
Right.
them, not necessarily for us.
I'm just trying to find out whether they have something like, if they're gonna pour alcohol on their property, and they're really not responsible for the alcohol, I would think it'd be some kind of an agreement, for them to protect their assets.
It was through you, Madam Chair, it was my understanding that at some point, when you started coming before the board for these, there was some sort of a bar that was operated by you folks. Is that
No,
not the case?
no, that's not the case, no. We don't have a bar, no.
Have a bar.
No, we just have a banquet room and, they bring in their own liquor, whatever they want to drink. And usually it's just beer and wine, or like, this baby shower, it'll be champagne punch. It's, usually that's what the parties are, so.
You may not even need a one-day liquor license, is what I'm thinking. You know,
Yeah, that's,
because it would be no different than having, I don't know, a private party in your hotel room, and you were giving alcohol to the people who came to your party in your hotel room.
Oh,
But to Mr. Moran's point, it does make sense that you have some sort of agreement, because the Board of Selectmen would be issuing you a one-day liquor license, making you the responsible parties. And Mr. Moran is correct that you might want to have some sort of an agreement with the people who are renting your facility to make sure that that liability doesn't come to you.
Yeah.
If one of them was to crash a
Right,
car
right.
or something afterwards, so.
yeah, I agree. I think I'm gonna talk to Jay and,
Where is Jay? We haven't seen him around in the last
I
month.
know,
so.
I don't even see him.
I heard he was
busy.
in India. I thought he was in India.
Oh, he just got back this week,
Back from
last
India.
week, yeah. But Jameen, his son, is the general manager of the Holiday Inn.
Madam Chair, I would recommend that the Board of Selectmen approve these because of the timing that is required, but we are gonna look into this a little further to see if you even have to bring these types of requests back before this board, because I'm not 100% sure that you will have to. If
Yeah,
you think about your other one-day liquor licenses that you do that car show, they're serving the alcohol. It's a
Yeah.
one-day license for them to serve. They're actually, I think, even selling that alcohol.
oh, yes.
oh,
So if
no,
you're operating something that is not like a bar,
no,
no,
it's their own party.
yeah.
I mean,
You may
They're
not,
they're not selling it, so
yeah.
they
Let's
don't need.
approve these, but look into it a
That's
little.
what I'm thinking. That's what I would recommend. But
Okay.
I would recommend also, just on the second one, pending the police chief's approval as well.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
To approve,
Okay, do you want to do both or separately? Let's do them separately, because the second one needs the condition of the,
So you have the one for Sunday, March
March
4th?
4th.
okay, Craig, that's your
I-
motion.
He moved and I second approval of the,
First,
March 4th, one-day liquor license.
okay, all in favor? All opposed? Vote carries 3-0. Do I have a motion on the second request for the birthday party?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the liquor permit, a one-day license on Saturday, 3/3/18 for the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Sturbridge, with the stipulation that this will be checked over by the police chief and granted if we have a positive response from the police chief.
Do I-
Second.
Okay, all in favor? All opposed? 3-0.
okay.
Thank you for your
Thank you
patience.
so much, thank you.
I'm glad you're doing well and you're busy. and-
Oh, we're getting so busy. It's amazing, like, it's really great. It's
Good.
such a great hotel. If any of you haven't been there yet, you need to come take a tour.
I think we've
Awesome.
all been.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've all been to.
Okay, yeah, it's a
You had a
well,
lounge
then you know, it's beautiful.
Oh,
He did a phenomenal job, and
I like the lights.
although, aren't they nice?
I do too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really-
Sorry
Thank
we
you.
kept you waiting. I know
Nice.
you're here for Old
Have a
Town
nice
Way.
evening.
Thank you.
Can we-
okay.
Yes, I think we can do that under old
Awesome.
business.
Old business?
Finally your turn, sorry.
Oh, good, to butter them up ahead of time. I like your strategy.
Rodeo Leon at this point, right? Come on.
So you may recall at your last meeting, the board had a conversation about the article regarding Old Town Way. You may recall that there was some question as to the there was some question from Sharon Everett, our town council, relative to the project. I think that what the council may have erred in is that I think what she had said was that the developer did not reserve the feet of the road or any of the drainage easements that the town needs, which means all the lot owners would have to grant easements to the town. I know your attorneys and our attorneys are working very closely to have that happen. But then the question, go ahead. No. Then the question came on up to that we could take the necessary easements by eminent domain. I think the board discussed that at your last meeting. Or was it present?
That's the most common way of doing
And as of today,
street acceptances, period.
as of today, when I spoke with our attorney prior to this meeting, he and Sharon were finalizing the waivers, actually, so that between now and Monday's special town meeting, I can get as many of our households to sign those waivers in advance of that meeting.
Great. I think where the problem was that in the advice that came from council, it said that the developer had agreed with the eminent domain, the waiver, and so on and so forth. That was not necessarily the case. It was actually, ordinarily would be the developer, but since the developer has been out of the picture for many, many moons,
Yeah.
it was, the residents were in favor of this process. The people who
Right.
live on the property were in, because the road takings, and I'm reading from Sharon's email, since road takings take time and money, they did recommend that we asked the residents to pay for the town's legal cost and recording fees. It was estimated to be about $1,500, and I think just from watching the video of the last meeting, as I said, I was ill during the last meeting, I understood that Julie had left before a decision was made to what we were going to do about that. She spoke to me earlier and asked if she would be able to come in and get that clarified before this board, before the town meeting, and this is your only meeting before that town meeting, so I had told her that it would be fine if she came to this meeting to just have that conversation with the board. So the question, I think, comes before the board, whether or not you would have the residents reimburse us for our cost, which would be about $1,500, or if you would have the town cover that in our town council budget.
Any comments? Anyone want to chime in?
Well, on the one hand, I would say that these people have probably been through enough where they've owned this property for so long and they've had some problems. But I would say that a lot of it would probably transfer back to the contractor that built this project, the builder, and didn't handle the paperwork properly at the time that all the properties were transferred to their current owners. So it's kind of a jump ball. You hate to hurt the residents, and they're the taxpayer. How many pieces of property are we talking?
There's 22 HOA households, that's right.
And through you, Madam Chair, how much have you spent as residents on this project up to this point?
So our personal funds are significantly over $40,000 at this point. And, that's why I appreciate so much being able to just come and offer some context tonight when you make your decision, because, from the perspective of these 22 constituent homeowners that pay pretty high taxes for the town of Sturbridge, and also all came together in this amazing 100% support of doing this work, making this major investment in this road to prepare it for the town. A month before Christmas, we rounded up 40 grand and met every deadline that the town gave us, got every department on board. And it's not a small feat to get 22 HOA households to, number one, meet, get a quorum, and vote. So it's not a small lift for me as the volunteer president to then go back to this group again 4 months later and say, oh, and there are these legal fees we didn't even anticipate, back in November when I brought this to you in the first place. So I'm asking for consideration that the town pay its own legal fees as we're paying our fees for our attorney. It's been a very good working relationship with the town on this project for over a year and a half now. Everyone has a very positive view of what has gone down, and we're proud of the work that we've done to get it to meet town standard. I just think that at this point, it's a lot to go back even for $1,500 or $2,000 and say, here's a little bit more, to folks that, I think have put a lot into this.
What have you spent so far on attorney's fees?
Well, they're still going, sir, because our counsel is working actively with your counsel. So Bob George, the local attorney, is our attorney. You may have seen him here with me at a couple other meetings. So I don't have a accurate answer for you yet. Overall, we are well over $40,000 for everything we've invested in the road, which was a 8 bullet point list of things that had to be done, from drainage to paving, 16 drainage structures, a retention tank, sidewalk repair, and I know I'm very close to the project.
That's kind of like a buyer beware, though. You know what I mean?
It is, and
It wasn't all
we
put
own
together
that.
when you bought it, and if your real estate agent wasn't on top of it, somebody dropped the ball somewhere.
Well, and if I could share this with you, I feel like there were, when we first met with Jean's commission over a year and a half ago, one of the questions that a member of that committee asked was, gee, the woman said, I wondered how, the 22 households are feeling about this, because, it's really, you kind of were left out to dry by this builder. And my answer was, we just all want to move on. We're owning the responsibility. And obviously we put our money where our mouth was on that. So that's why I'm asking for the consideration today.
Do we know, Leah? Oh, I don't want to interrupt
No,
you,
no.
Julie. Do we know that it's going to be that amount? I mean, it's not going to
No.
end up being $10,000, do we?
No, I don't, I can't say for certain that it
Right.
wouldn't be, but
Well-
we don't anticipate it would be for the recording fees, it would be for,
For writing up the order.
right, so,
It's my own personal opinion, it seems, well, let me take, I'm not used to chairing it, so let me open it up to others, and then I will comment. Mike?
I've been through this, as a town engineer, several times, and like I said, most communities do accept streets and use eminent domain to clear all the encumbrances. Like we have Acorn, and if there's a lien on one of the properties that's fronting on the street, technically that lien is not cleared by our just accepting those deeds. There's a lien on that, and we haven't cleared our title to the street and the easements. So eminent domain gets rid of all those issues. The banks that have mortgages on the properties, even though the developer reserves the easements, the benefit in the street, there are some outstanding issues if you just accept the street, if you accept the deed from the developer. There can be. It's very rare that they come up, but it could come up. So that's why most towns do use eminent domain when they're accepting streets, because that's final, and and the title is 100% clear and invested in the town. So in doing that, most towns do pay for the order of taking, which is prepared as part of the layout order anyhow. So it's one document. The only extra work is listing all the properties and that are affected, and in this instance. So we should be doing that anyhow when we lay out streets. And so I feel it's the responsibility of the Board of Selectmen. That being said, one of the reasons why there is a subdivision control law in Massachusetts is that homeowners won't get hung out to dry like this. I mean, we bear some responsibility for releasing the subdivision, or not the board, but the town as a whole, releasing the bond on the subdivision prematurely. And so I feel that, in addition to the fact that we should be laying out our streets using eminent domain power, I think the $1,500 extra for having an order taking is well worth canceling out any future liability of issues that could arise in the future. I mean, if we don't use eminent domain, so we have to, I think it's, the selectmen should authorize the payment to town council to do
Thank you.
the order of taking as part of the layout order.
Okay.
So the
Craig?
1,500 is gonna cover the 22 homes on eminent domain, is that correct?
It will cover the order of taking and the recording of said thing. The
Mhm.
council felt that it would be about that much.
About 1,500. So that's about $68 and change a house. I think that, going along with the
Can-
Selectman Supernaut, I think that would probably be the best way to do it, because again, the bond was released prematurely before all the i's were dotted and t's were crossed as far as, what it shows us today where we are.
One of the things that we probably could do in-house, there's a notice that has to be sent out to all of the abutters and so forth, that we are using eminent domain. And any mortgagors that we may identify, we just have to send them a notice that we are gonna, lay out the street by eminent domain. And I think that part could be done in-house, maybe minimize, reduce the cost by, because it's just a notice from the board that we're gonna take action.
Well, there again now, we're getting in one area where if you're gonna notify the finance company, which I agree that the finance company have a lien on it, so they're, the first holder unless the eminent domain kicks in. But in order to get the proper documentation to be covered, we probably have to go to a title search company.
No, we just have to notify them. The law says we just notify them and then we take it.
Well, that's great, but, trying to find out who they are is the
If I
key.
may,
That's,
if I may on that, I would just point that very good point to Sharon and our attorney, because they have discussed that at length.
Yeah, I
much
personally
so.
think this is something that we just have to defer to town council in
Yeah.
all of the preparation for it.
That's exactly on point. I think that's
already
what they've
been
talked
working.
Yeah,
about.
it's already been working, so we
Yeah.
have, 1,500 is a very reasonable amount of money.
Yep.
And I think this is the type of expense that can and should be absorbed by our line item for town council fees.
Thank you.
So do we have a motion to that effect?
I move the Board of Selectmen authorize payment of the legal fees in conjunction with the eminent domain taking on Old Town Way.
Do I have a second? You're not? I'm not saying I will second it. I will second it for purposes of discussion.
Okay, no, that's exactly it,
Okay.
okay? What I'm saying is, you wanna approve the fees, but I mean, the fees could go to 35,000. Do you wanna approve the fees to $1,500, to a maximum of 1,500? Is that where we're going with it, or are we gonna, you just can't say the fees. It's
Do you
in my
want to put a
estimation.
maximum amount?
I think the quote that Jean told me was 1,500 to 2,000, just so that just so it's accurate to what she had said to me, just
Okay,
so you know.
I will amend that by using the not to exceed $2,000. Yeah,
Okay,
I didn't even think that it could
Perfect.
go much higher.
I
but-
will second the amended motion. All in favor? All opposed? Vote carries 3-0.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Julie.
Have a great night.
Yes, you
Appreciate
too.
it. See you Monday night.
Yes.
Bring your voters.
Oh my goodness. I'm like a cheerleader out there. Not enough voters to come.
Good luck.
Well, then bring your pom-poms.
Madam Chair, I don't have a lot of other items. I would like to ask the Board of Selectmen to accept the $5,000 donation to the Senior Center for Capital Improvements at the Senior Center.
Do I have a motion to that effect?
So move. Second.
Craig, and second by Mike. All in favor? All opposed? Vote carries 3-0.
Could we send a thank you letter to?
Okay. In fact, the gentleman was here today. I asked him before the meeting if he was here, what he was here for. He told me he was here for the law permit. The gentleman whose business card is on the reverse side of that paper
Was here, yeah.
was present and spoke before this board. Senator Goby has formally requested suggestions from the town of Sturbridge for capital projects from the town for possible inclusion in the fiscal 19 state budget. Some of the preliminary ideas in your packet that I've given to you are the public safety communication improvements, monies for the DPW building, monies for public safety complex improvements, the McGilpin Road area water line, monies for the senior center, monies for the renovation of Brookfield Road, replacement of the HVAC system at the library, and the recreational field project. I would like you to consider those, and if there's any that you would like us to specifically highlight, we would move forward with those requests.
Okay, does anybody have any input they'd like to provide?
Oh, I can think of some other capital projects, but they're really, subject to applications for existing funding, so I don't think they need to be added to the list, such as road projects and such.
I thought the list was pretty comprehensive. We have some big projects that would be great to get some state money for them. Greg, do you have any comment?
Well, I think that about covers what I'm looking for.
I mean, clearly, we're not going to get all of these, we may not get any.
Right. The other thing I was wondering is the McGilpin Road thing we're pretty much set on, right?
No, oh no, we only have the money for the water step.
That's correct.
Right, but this is
That's right.
assistance putting in the water line. That's how I read that.
Yes.
Okay.
We read it.
That's a big project.
Yeah, that's not just studying, it's
I
building.
think that if we put in for that, and somebody asks us for the paperwork right now, we'd be at a deficit of trying to come up with the information that they're gonna need. I mean, we don't even have a valuation for what's going on yet.
I'm sorry.
We don't even have a value of what that system's gonna cost.
Oh, no, that's why we have the study going on.
Right.
We won't know that official answer for probably 2 or 3 months. That work has to be done by June 30th. That study has to be done.
But he's saying, can we still put it on our list? I mean,
Well,
yes, I mean, we're already engaging, and we've already taken the initial steps to show that we have intent.
Greg had given us a large number, if you remember, it was like 7 million or 6 million. I'll have to go back to my notes. He gave us a rough number of what it could end up being for that project. So what we would do is put in for the maximum amount.
If we could do that and not get ourselves the cart before the horse type of situation, where we put in for it, and they send the information to us, we need the paperwork and what this thing is gonna cost, so we can get it in the next year's budget, and we don't even have the study done yet. I'd hate to get into that kind of a deficit situation, but if you feel that we can do that and not have any problems, then by all
I think
means.
we could do that.
Yeah. Did we haven't had an update yet recently on where the water stands on McGilpin Road? The water quality testing and all of that?
We had an update about a month ago, so we're probably overdue for that, but I'll follow up on that.
Okay.
Yeah, we get monthly updates on that.
Yeah, maybe it was one of the meetings that I missed when I was sick.
Yeah.
Do you need us to vote on this capital list?
If you folks are okay with it, you can just nod and I'll be okay with it.
Nod.
Okay,
Okay.
I think
Yes.
it's a great list.
Yeah,
Let's move on to the application for the special use permit.
In your agenda package, you have a application for Berkshire Bass Fishing Derby on April 21st. It was reviewed by the police chief with some comments to keep sufficient distance from boat stocks and floats and piers of other neighbors, and with a recommendation from the police chief for approval.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the one-day permit for the
It's the
special
Berkshire
use permit?
Bass,
Yes.
yeah.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, do you want to make it subject to the police conditions?
No, yeah, I will, that's the way I will.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Vote carries 3-0.
Did you want to carry over the policy and appointment procedures? I know you don't have a full board tonight.
I think that would be advantageous because they're going to want to provide
Right.
input, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Madam Chair, I'm announcing that Barbara Hilbig is resigning as a member of the library trustees. No action is needed on behalf of the board of selectmen. I just wanted to publicly announce that her term is expiring in a few months and she's moving. I just wanted to have that announced.
Well, we accept it with regret, although we don't have to, and thank her for her years of service.
And I would ask the Board of Selectmen to approve the annual BB 5K race on May 26, 2018.
Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? Vote carries 3-0.
Madam Chair, I have no other business before the Board.
Okay, do we have any old business, Craig?
No, I'm all set.
We already did that with the.
Well, that was old business, but do you have additional old
No,
business?
no additional
I
old
don't
business.
either. Any new business? Craig?
No.
Mike?
No.
Okay, my only new business is that when I requested that we discuss again the idea of a school resource officer.
Yes.
And I am fine with having the chief talk with us about it when he issues his department head report, which was your recommendation.
Yes.
But I know in the past, I think it was Chief Grasso that was before us, I asked him about the petition, and I was told that's not typically something that we include in monthly reports, and I was kind of cut off by whatever concerns people about not exceeding. So that's why I just wanted to let you know, so that the department head report will include some discussion about that. So just so the new members know, I mean, years ago, we approached the Tantascwa Regional School Committee with our recommendation, the then Board of Selectmen, for a school resource officer. And when we voted at town meeting and appropriated the money in the budget, and now we have a school resource officer at Burgess, the intent was to have that person, cover all three schools. And Tantascwa School Committee did not want to allow the resource officer. They didn't want it, and it's, their say. But in terms of recent happenings, I think it's caused all municipalities to look again and say, are our schools as safe as they could be? And I think that the school resource officer has been a great addition and resource at Burgess. And I'd just like to open up that discussion again and get our chief's input. So if you can, and I don't have any other new business. All right, correspondence. Want to do it? Do you want to be the,
I can do it.
okay, I'm tired of talking.
Okay. Correspondence dated February 20th, 2018. January 31st, U.S. Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, number 250337, Town of Sturbridge Risk Mapping Assessment and Planning Program. February 5th, Tantascwa Regional School Union 61 districts. Public hearing on fiscal year 19 elementary school budget, Thursday, March 4th. Strike that, Thursday, March 1st at 6:30 p.m. in the cafeteria at the Burgess School. February 5th, Tie and Bond Engineers and Environmental Specialists, 2017 Water and Sewer Rate Surveys. February 8th, the Arbor Day Foundation, Community Canopy Overview Webinar, Thursday, February 22nd at 12 p.m. February 8th, Central Mass Mosquito Control Project, preliminary proposed budget for fiscal year 19. Are we there already? Mosquitoes? February 8th, Division of Crop and Pest Services, Department of Agricultural Resources, a PARI program. February 9th, Massachusetts Senate, Senator Ann Goby, fiscal year governor's budget schedule. And February 13th, Commonwealth of Mass, Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, new requirements for funding state 911 department support and incentive grants. That concludes the correspondence.
Yeah, I had a question about the Central Mass Mosquito Control Project. Sturbridge is probably the second highest contributor to that financially. And at some point in the future, if we could just have an explanation why our assessment is high as compared to some of the other communities.
Have you seen the size of the mosquitoes around here?
Oh, yeah, $100,000 mosquitoes.
That's it.
We're spending over $100,000 a year for mosquito control. Maybe it's, it's possible that that it's justified, but I'd just like to,
You want to know the formula for
yeah,
calculating.
how we, yeah, what's the formula?
I read it.
Exactly.
I got you. I will do that. Madam Chair, we have some minutes to approve.
Okay,
In your agenda package, you find minutes for February 5th, 2018.
okay. Do we have any amendments to it?
No.
Okay, how about you, Mike?
I don't have any amendments to it.
Okay, I just have a couple of, actually, I only have one, and it's what I already emailed you. So on page 2, where I am seconding the motion, plan should be referenced for the street since town council had prepared the layout drafts referencing the, and just to make it clear, insert subdivision plans. And then I don't have any other changes. So do I have a motion to approve the February 5th minutes as amended?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor? All opposed? Vote carries 3-0.
You have minutes for January 16th, 2018.
I did have a couple on that one.
Okay,
On page 6, in the end, at the very bottom of the page, it says motion failed, 3-2, and it was M. Blanchard, M. Supranat, and C. Moran against. Just insert, who voted against. And at the top of page 7, again, at that motion, it was, the vote passed 4-1. And I believe it was M. Dowling against. I'm not sure.
okay, I'm sorry, one more time. Which one?
Top of the page there. We usually list who's in favor and who's.
Oh, I believe,
Was it you that
I
voted
believe
against it?
it's
or-
Priscilla
Priscilla?
voted not to accept.
Okay,
In fact, I'm almost
okay.
99% sure.
I didn't know who it,
I'll make it 100.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, she was not in favor of it.
Okay.
Which yeah.
So we'll detail that.
Yeah, that's just by convention we list who.
Yep.
Those are my 2 comments.
And Craig, you are all set?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just have a few. Sorry, I was trying not to have any, but on page 2, okay, on the discussion by town council, 3rd line in the 2nd paragraph, M. Dowling stated that her understanding, and before the word is, put, based upon council's opinion, that a medical, and then it continues, and then the sentence continues, in 5 years, and the town will not, and scratch have control under, and insert, will not have the right to ban it. So will not have the right to ban it under the current regulations. And then, okay, a little bit further. Attorney Bard responded that the current applicant, Heel, who has a pending contract with the town, will have such an option, but it does not open the door for future facilities, insert, i.e., other than Heel, if the town wished to ban it. So I just want to make clear that it's future facilities other than Heel, if the town wished to ban it. And then in the next sentence, M. Dowling and P. Jimis both stated that the residents may not be aware. Change that to M. Dowling and P. Jimis both stated that neither the BOS nor residents could have been aware that the letter of no opposition. So both stated that neither the BOS nor residents could have been aware instead of may not have been aware. And then at the end of that sentence, would open the door for future retail sales, insert under the current law.
I've got a comment on that as well. In that same paragraph, it mentions the zoning board of appeals, and I believe I said planning board, not zoning board of appeals, because it's the planning board that would be working on the zoning change, not the ZBA.
Did you get all that, Colleen? Do you need any of us to repeat anything? I'm gonna come in tomorrow, so.
Just
if
the
you-
one, but I can check the motion, the first one that you said about who was against, but I can check the tape.
Oh, the first, let me see if,
Yeah, well, the motion was by M. Dowling and seconded by P. Gemmis, so,
which one,
yeah, and the vote wasn't.
oh, yes.
The vote wasn't 3-2, it was 2-3.
You don't have to check the tape on that. It was definitely my motion. Priscilla definitely seconded it, and motion failed 2-3. You absolutely don't have to check that. I do have one change on that, one additional sentence, though. After I asked M. Dowling asked L. Goman if the town normally covers health insurance in the event of a resignation. L. Goman stated that the town does not. Insert the sentence, M. Dowling pointed out that there were extenuating circumstances in that the prior employee's spouse had major health problems. And that's it. Okay, January 2nd?
You have to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Do I have a vote?
Motion to approve the minutes as amended of January 16th, 2018.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor? All opposed? 3-0.
You have the minutes of January 2nd, 2018.
Okay, any changes?
I had one change somewhere in here. Yeah, it was on page 4. The fourth paragraph from the bottom. The word objectively in the last sentence, I would like to have that impartially. It's a slight difference, but.
Okay.
Craig, do you have any changes?
Ma'am.
Okay, I just have just a couple very small ones. On page 4, about halfway down, on my conflict, M. Dowling stated that she too filed a conflict of interest disclosure. In the second sentence, M. Dowling stated that her child and M. Boschman's child attended school together. Insert in the past. Okay? And they knew each other. And insert, and she held her in high regard, because I put that on my disclosure. Although they are not close friends and do not socialize. So insert in the past, after school together, and after they knew each other, and she held her in high regard. Okay, and that's my only change. Do I have a motion to approve the January 2nd meeting minutes?
As amended, so moved.
Second?
All in favor? All opposed? Vote carries 3-0.
You have the minutes of August 2nd, 2017. This was a brief meeting held
Right.
during the daytime.
I had no comments on that agenda. Seemed to outline everything that I recall being said.
Very good. Do you have anything, Craig?
No, this was the 911 operation that we were going through. at this point.
The regional dispatch.
Regional
Yep.
dispatch, yeah.
Yep.
It's when we voted not to
Correct.
join the regional dispatch.
Yep.
Okay, I just have one. M. Dowling thanked the town officials. On the second line, it says, maintain their autonomy in these matters. Can you insert in these safety matters? And then it reads, until we are told, and then insert by the state that we cannot operate this way. So safety matters and are told by the state. Do I have a motion to approve the August 2nd, 2017 minutes as amended?
So moved.
All in favor?
Right.
All opposed? Vote carries 3-0.
You have the minutes of August 21st, 2017.
I have a comment on page 3, under Department Heads Report, second paragraph down. Sean Moody had a monthly report for the water and sewer or wastewater departments. It wasn't just the water department, it was both departments he was reporting on. And in that same paragraph, there's a short sentence that says will be during them. I think it's doing all of them, D-O-I-N-G.
Correct. Yep.
I had a question, on the top of page 2, there's an appointment of Mary Dowling as the alternate. My recollection is there was also a motion to appoint myself as the
That was a
delegate.
that was a separate meeting.
That was a separate meeting?
You
Okay.
You may remember that. I don't believe that.
Oh,
Mary
right,
was
Mary
present.
wasn't present at the
So
meeting
you didn't
before
want to
this.
appoint her without her being there.
Yeah, because she might have got mad.
I do remember being
That's-
told that, so,
I am corrected,
okay, so you must be in the August
yeah.
7th or 8th meeting. We must have
On the,
done.
on page 4, there's a, just before approval of minutes. I don't know, there was a 3-to-1 vote, and I can't recall who was against the motion to accept the recommendation for the permitting software.
I did these sets of minutes, and I know that it was Mr. Moran.
Okay,
But
if,
we can amend the.
just say C. Moran against. And under approval of minutes, I did watch the tape. And it was, rather than the selectmen asked to carry over the minutes to a later date, it was, Priscilla was chairing the meeting, and she just asked to carry it over because there were other members not present, so it was rather than the selectmen, it was P. Gimmis asked to carry over the minutes to a later date.
Selectmen asked, okay.
Okay, I have no changes on these. Do I have a motion to accept the August 21st meeting minutes as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? 3-0, vote carries. I like it how the same person's making the motion and second. I think it's easier for you on these, right? Nice.
You have minutes for July 17th, 2017.
We're in the,
Evidently, you don't know what Mike and I have been doing here. Gotta keep it on the ball.
this one was, I had no comments on this one. I read through it and didn't have a comment. This is July 17th,
Yep.
2017. I just put okay there, as is.
Any changes or amendments, Craig?
No, ma'am.
I also don't have any changes.
Motion to approve the minutes of July 17th, 2017, as written.
Second? No, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? We're going to stay with this, 3-0. Vote
You
carries.
have minutes for April 27th, 2017.
I had a general comment, if it could be just formatted in the same way as our other minutes. I mean,
Yep.
just just a general formatting, the votes are in bold and stuff like that. It would be helpful. Let's see, page 4, I had a comment. Okay, well, that was part of the same. Okay, on page 5, at the very top of the page, it was, I think the vote was 3, 1, and 1.
Yep.
Down in the section where the last bulleted sections, let's see, 1, 2, 3, the fourth bulleted section from the bottom, there should be a dollar sign before 87,406.
Yep.
Let's see. Yeah, again, the comments on that page was, okay, and on the very last page, at the very top of the page, Dowdy, and then road should have a capital R.
Yep.
That's it for me.
I don't have any changes either, except, well, I guess I know we're gonna change the format, but we'll still, I'm hoping we still vote them in, and then he could just change that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just formatting.
No, I agree.
change
The
that.
last page, M. Dowling addressed an email she received about the Doughty Road purchase. When you reformat, that should be under correspondence. You know, I mentioned it, I believe, as part of the correspondence that I got. It could have been under old business, but I don't think it was. Or was it under
Can I
other
give you
business?
an explanation? There was no, the agenda was simply the voting of the warrant. There was no old business, new business.
Oh, so I just
So you just
added
spoke
that
about-
old, okay,
You
so
spoke
leave,
about that
okay.
as part of the warrant.
leave it
Yeah.
as is then.
Yeah,
Do I have a motion to approve as amended the April 27th?
so
minutes?
moved, it's amended.
Second?
All in favor? All opposed? Vote carries 3-0.
You have minutes for July 5th, 2016.
July 18th, okay, July
July
5th,
5th.
okay. This one I had is okay, I had no comments on that.
Craig?
No, ma'am, I looked it over.
I also don't have any changes. Do I have a motion to approve the
Well-
July 5th?
As written, so moved.
Second? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? Vote carries 3-0.
You have minutes for July 18th, 2016.
Okay, I had a comment on the first page, or two comments. On the first roll call vote to go into executive session, after Selectman Moran's name, the yes should be all capitalized. And in the last paragraph, under Joe Roy doc application, after the word contractor in the third sentence, you could put the word "to hire," and then Jalbert is a J, not a G.
Good
What?
thing we have a sign-in sheet, though.
Let's see. On page 3, I think the motion, you could, I think the motion should have read to request under Chapter 90, it's the second motion on page 3. I move to accept Chapter 90 road reimbursement, and it was actually a request for,
I move to request. the
I
check.
move, yeah, change the word accept to request.
Yep.
And, let's see, on page 5, the paragraph after there was a motion to approve the MDA boot drive, and after that, the next paragraph, second sentence, says he also updated the selectmen on. If you could just delete the status of and just say Sean Moyna's status as certified paramedic. It just seemed
Yep.
redundant a little bit. Let's see, I think that was it. Yeah, that's it for me.
Craig, I might have already asked you this, but do you have any changes?
No, ma'am. I'm good.
Getting tired, I think I already asked him twice, but do I have a motion to accept the July 18th, 2016 meeting minutes?
So moved, as
Right.
amended.
As amended, do I have a second?
Second?
All in,
I'm sorry, there was something I didn't get.
okay, that's okay, let's just vote it in, and then, all in
Okay.
favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Vote
Okay.
carries 3-0.
Okay, which one didn't you get on page? I had two comments on page one comment on page three. In the second motion down from the top of the page, it says, "I move to accept Chapter 90 road reimbursements." Change the word "accept" to "request." And then on page 5, it was delete the words "the status of."
Madam Chair, due to the fact that we don't have a quorum to accept the last set of minutes of August 8, 2016, I will ask to have that item carried over to the next meeting.
Okay, we shall just leave it, everybody can just leave it in their mailboxes. And I just want to thank Leon and Colleen for doing a great job trying to get our meeting minutes in order. 10 for today is, I'm sure, a lot of hard work.
Thank you very much.
Okay, citizens forum, nobody, do you want to speak? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? 3-0.
Now, I have your signature on this anyways, and you may recall that you folks voted to authorize the chair to sign